I went on a luxurious camping trip, and ended up fighting for my life. Anyone that knows me, knows that I am not a big fan of woods, forests, or any wooded area for that matter. I don't voluntarily go camping. I don't go on nature walks. I don't do anything, if it involves going in the woods. I don't even like driving down a road lined with trees. So, when I received an email one Monday morning at work, about 2 months ago, from my district manager, stating that as a thank you to all the store managers and assistant managers in our region, as well as himself, for all our hard work during the COVID-19 pandemic, that the powers that be have arranged for a 3-day weekend retreat at the Sunset Valley campgrounds, located a few states away, I was a bit concerned. You see, I work for the third largest grocery store chain in the world. I am the assistant manager of the Lionsburg store, and while many other businesses have been forced to close over the past year and a half, due to COVID-19, grocery stores and a few other forms of businesses were deemed essential to sustain life, and allowed to remain open to serve the public's needs. So, myself and every other essential person, have been directly in the middle of this craziness, from the very beginning until the end, and it's still not over. Anyway, the email went on to say that the retreat would take place 2 weekends from now, and that masks were optional, but attendance was mandatory. My eyes almost popped completely out of my head when I saw that word, mandatory. There's no way I can do this, I said to myself. I immediately shot an email back to my DM, explaining that I am severely claustrophobic, and that I would be unable to attend the retreat for that reason. He responded with, basically, take a pill, pack your bags, and man up, you're going. Fucking great, I thought, there's no way I'm getting out of this. Well, besides quitting, and that is not an option. After working here for over 20 years, making over $23 an hour, with full benefits, and 5 weeks paid vacations a year, there was no way I was walking away from all that over some stupid trees. Anyway, as the days went on, my anxiety grew, almost to the point to where I couldn't even perform daily tasks around the house, such as sweeping the floors, doing the dishes, and taking out the trash. I couldn't even think straight at work. I knew I had to get help. When I gave a customer $160 worth of groceries for free, just because her debit card wouldn't work, I almost got fired over that one. I had to pay it back on payday. Anyway, I called my family doctor, and made an appointment for the coming Monday, my next day off. At the appointment, I explained the situation to her. She prescribed me Zoloft, twice a day, until after the retreat, or whenever my anxiety grew too strong. She also wished me luck in getting through it. I had the prescription filled, and began taking them as directed. They helped a little bit, but the anxiety was still there. Now, there are 13 stores in our region, totaling 26 managers in all, not including the department managers, which weren't invited, which did not make sense to me. It's the department managers and all the associates that actually did the work. The store managers and assistant managers just made sure the work got done. It's them that deserved the getaway, not us. They did all the work. I know that's not normal thinking for an assistant manager, but I came up through the ranks. I started out as a bagger, moved to cashier, then to grocery stocker, then to lead stocker, then grocery manager, and now assistant manager. So, I know what the associates go through on a daily basis. All they got was 5 large pizzas from the local pizza place as a thank you, which wasn't right. But what can I do about it? Anyway, all the upper managers, from all the stores, via conference call, decided to meet up at 9 a.m., at that creepy little gas station in the next town over, which is an equal distance away from everyone. I'm not sure of the name of it, but it definitely is creepy. Anyway, a couple days before the big event, I was thinking about what to pack. Given the fact that I normally don't go camping, I had no idea what to pack. So, I packed a few changes of clothes, extra socks and underwear, my pills, my headphones, my wireless phone charger, some bottled water, a few lighters, and a couple extra packs of cigarettes. Yes, I smoke. And yes, I know, it's a nasty habit. I also know it's a bitch to try to quit. So, if you don't smoke, don't start. This way you will never have to quit. Anyway, I also packed a wide variety of Little Debbie snack cakes. I love those things. Zebra cakes are my favorite. What's yours? Anyway, after packing, I decided to do a little research on the Sunset Valley campgrounds, as I never heard of it before, and I've been living here my whole life. Anyway, I grabbed my laptop from off the dining room table, sat down on the couch, opened it up, turned it on, and typed Sunset Valley campgrounds in the search bar, pressed enter, and waited, and waited, and waited. I know my Wi-Fi's working. I got a full signal, I thought. Finally, the website popped up, the Sunset Valley Campgrounds, luxury in the great outdoors, the header read. Underneath the header were 4 pictures, in collage fashion, of the interior of this huge 2-story cabin. One picture was of the living area. Another was of the kitchen and dining area. The third was of the bathroom area. And finally, the last one was of the bedroom area. Oh my God. They're gorgeous huge cabins, I said out loud. I think I can do this. So what? I have to walk through some trees to get there. That's what I got these pills for. I then scrolled down and saw an aerial shot of 15 cabins, and yes, I counted them. Anyway, they all sat in a circle, facing the same way, with a humongous-sized swimming pool in the middle of them, in this giant field, surrounded by trees. Under the picture were the words, "Here at the Sunset Valley Campgrounds, we offer you the most luxurious, relaxing atmosphere imaginable. Each 2-story luxurious cabin comes with heating, air conditioning, running water, electric, satellite television, as well as pay-per-view services. Our deluxe models are equipped with a full-functioning fireplace. Nature trails, tennis courts, miniature golf courses, and exercise runs are just a few of the fabulous features we offer. Click here for a full list of activities offered. Guides and instructors are available upon request. Book your cabin today. Group rates are available." I couldn't believe my eyes. This is nothing like I thought it would be, I thought to myself. I was actually excited about going. It sure beats this ratty old apartment I got here, I said to myself. Hell yeah, I'm going. I excitedly closed the laptop and put it on the coffee table. It was about 10:30 at that point, so I decided to go to bed. I woke up the next morning, the day before the retreat, made a pot of coffee, had breakfast, and took my pill like usual. I was off that day, so I just relaxed around the house, anticipating going. Anyway, event day came. My alarm woke me up at 7. I did my normal morning routine, got dressed around 8, made a to-go cup of coffee, grabbed my wallet, my keys, my cell phone, the cup, and my bag, then quickly walked out to my car, and drove to the gas station. After what should have been a 20-minute drive, that ended up being an almost 45-minute drive, due to construction crews working on the road, I finally pulled into the parking lot. I was the last to arrive. I pulled my car into a parking space, and got out. In the parking lot sat everyone's cars, I assumed, a rusty white van, that screamed, stranger danger, and a fluorescent green short bus, as well as this old beat-up regular-sized bus that looked like it was from the 1940s. Spewing out black smoke from the exhaust pipe, shaking a little, and making some kind of clanking noise, like one or more of the motor mounts were broken. Randy, my district manager, came running, well, more like slowly jogging over to my car. "Howard," he said, "glad you could make it. I thought you were gonna bail on us." "Are you kidding?" I replied. "I did some research, and man, is that place nice." He just smiled. "Grab your bag, and let's go," he said. We got a long ride ahead of us. I opened the back door, grabbed my bag, threw it over my shoulder, shut the door, opened the driver's door, grabbed the cup of coffee, hit the all lock button on the door panel, and shut the door. This place is creepy enough in the daytime. I can only imagine what kind of freaks hang around here at night, I thought, as I walked behind Randy over to that creepy bus. I stood there, next to Randy, looking suspiciously at the bus, as the door then opened. In the driver's seat sat an old man that looked very similar to Scatman Crothers, with white hair and a white beard. If you don't know who that is, look it up. Anyway, is this thing even gonna make it there? I asked Randy. "I hope so," he answered. "With all the money this company makes, you would think they would get a real bus." Well, at least the cabins are nice, I thought, as I stepped on the bus, and walked up the steps, hearing multiple conversations going on all at once. I turned left to see Roger, my store manager, as well as Bill, Steve, Dave, Susan, and every other store manager and assistant manager in the region, some I never seen before. The conversations then stopped and the bus became silent, as all their heads turned, and stared directly at me. I smiled nervously and waved. I then heard the whooshing sound of the door shutting behind me, as the conversation started again. I walked down the aisle and took the third seat on the left. It was an open seat. I sat next to the window, and placed my bag on the aisle seat. Randy then walked past. I turned my head and saw him take a seat next to Sharon, the store manager of the Castletown store. Rumor had it that those two had some kind of love triangle thing going on, but that was none of my business. Anyway, we're all here. Let's roll, I heard Randy yell. I then heard the sound of the air brakes popping as the bus began to shake and clank down the road. As I said, there were conversations going on all around me, about sports, work, the weather, and other topics. No, I don't watch sports. Besides wrestling, I spend enough time at work. I really didn't want to talk about it, and the weather is my least favorite thing to talk about. So, being that I'm not really a people person, unless I'm getting paid to be at work, I had no desire to join in any of the conversations. Anyway, I took a sip of my coffee, unzipped my bag, pulled out my headphones, connected them to my iPhone, opened the YouTube app, maneuvered through it, put on my playlist of my favorite Twisted Sister concerts, sat back, drank my coffee, and listened to a few of them. No, I didn't get much sleep the night before. I kept having these really weird dreams. I must have fallen asleep, because the next thing I knew, I woke up, it was dark outside, and it appeared that we were riding on the side of a mountain. Where the fuck are we? I thought. I then took my headphones out of my ears, turned to Donna, the assistant manager of the Deerhead store, sitting in the seat across from mine, and asked her what time it was. Why I didn't just look at my phone, I don't know, but I didn't. Anyway, she looked at her phone and said, 7:37. Wow, I've been asleep for over 10 hours, I thought. The conversation noises had died down a lot, and mostly everyone was doing their own thing. Some were still talking. I opened my bag, ate a snack cake, and took my pill with a bottle of water. Soon after, I realized I had to piss like a racehorse. I got up quickly, in hopes of not pissing myself, and made my way to the back of the bus. Excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, Dave, move your foot. Excuse me, I said on the way there. I finally reached the bathroom, no thanks to Dave, which was on the left side of the bus, not that that matters or anything. Anyway, I opened the door, and stepped inside. As soon as I was about to start handling my business, I heard a loud bang, so loud I could hear it from the bathroom. Oh my god. The motor moon, I said in fear. In mid-sentence, the bus hopped, as if it ran over something big, possibly the engine and the transmission, which fell out when all the motor mounts broke, I assumed, causing me to lose my balance. Then it jerked quickly to the left, causing me to slam hard into the bathroom door, which did not open. What happened next was the most terrifying, and most disgusting thing that ever happened to me. The bus then tipped over on its left side, slamming me into the wall, and began sliding down the mountain, extremely fast. I didn't actually see it, I was in the bathroom, but I could figure out what was happening. Anyway, everyone started screaming, as the sound of glass breaking, and metal crunching filled the air. I watched in absolute horror, as the toilet seat opened up, and began to pour raw sewage out of it, and directly on top of me. The bus then slammed to a stop, quickly rolled on its roof, and then over to its other side, causing me to slam into the bathroom door once again. This time it opened. I fell through it, and slammed hard into the side of the bus, hitting my head in the process, covered in shit and piss. The bus then slid a little further, and finally came to a stop. I grabbed my head to see if I was bleeding. Luckily I was not. I reached in my pocket, pulled out my cell phone, which luckily was not damaged in all the commotion, turned on my flashlight, and shined it around. Is everyone okay? I screamed, as moans and groans soon followed. I then began to see movement. The surviving women were crying, as the men were grunting in pain. I seemed to be uninjured, just a few bumps and bruises, and a headache. Anyway, I climbed over the seats, and a few dead corpses to get to the survivors, and helped them up. All the windows were broken, with sharp pieces of glass still in the frames. Luckily the bus was equipped with safety windows, so I took out the window panels, along with the help of Dave, and a few other guys, who appeared to be uninjured as well. We then helped everyone out onto the side of the bus. I climbed over the seats and the bodies once again, to the place where I was sitting. What are you doing? Dave screamed. Let's go. Give me a second, I screamed back. I shined my light down to see my bag, sticking out underneath the body of Donna. I slowly reached down, grabbed the strap, and began pulling it. I need a fucking cigarette, I thought. Suddenly, a hand grabbed my arm. I screamed. Are you alright, man? Dave shouted. Help me, I heard a low female voice say. I looked down to see Donna, her eyes wide open, and she was breathing really heavy, as others began to come to as well. We got more survivors. Get down here, now, I screamed to Dave. Damn, you stink, I heard Donna say. That's how I knew she would be alright. You see, I've had a thing for Donna for years now. Anyway, they must have been knocked unconscious in the crash, I thought. Dave then jumped down through the window and helped the rest of the survivors out. As I helped them up, blood was everywhere, and I was covered in it. Many of the second round of survivors had huge gashes on their legs, their arms, and their faces. A couple guys had broken arms, and one woman had a broken leg. We lost 5 people that night, including the driver, Roger, Randy, Susan, and a guy I never seen before. It could have been worse. A lot worse. Anyway, as Dave was helping the last survivor out, I motioned for him to go next. He did, and then extended his hand down to help me. I grabbed my bag, grabbed Dave's hand, and began to climb out. Right before I climbed out, I shined my flashlight back into the bus, turned my head and saw the twisted, mangled bodies of 3 people that I used to know, and 2 that I never knew, lying there in the wreckage. I said a little prayer for them. May they all rest in peace. Anyway, I climbed out, onto the side of the bus. I shined my light to see everyone, including Dave, sitting there staring straight ahead, with a look of fear on their faces. I turned to see what they were so afraid of. I saw nothing, as in, open air. What the fuck? I said out loud. I quickly realized that the bus did not hit the ground when it stopped. No, it was stopped by 2 trees on the edge of about a 90-foot high cliff. If the trees weren't there, we all would have went over the cliff, and most certainly would have died. Anyway, the weight of the bus soon began to take its toll on the trees, as I began to hear the wood crack. Off the bus. Get off the bus. Now. Go. Move. I screamed. All the men, and a couple of the women jumped down off the bus to the rocks below, as I began lowering the injured. The cracking was getting louder and more often. Hurry, I shouted. I then lowered the remaining women, and finally, I jumped down. Thankfully, no one else was injured in the jump. Anyway, mere seconds after my feet hit the rocks, the trees broke, and fell over the edge, as well as the bus, which exploded on impact with the ground below. A huge ball of flames shot up from the ground, then went back down again. Several women screamed, and some of the men as well. Myself, Dave, and a couple other guys carefully walked to the edge. Be careful, Donna said emotionally. We looked down to see the bus completely engulfed in flames. The smell of burnt flesh, rubber, and plastic filled the air. It smelled almost as bad as I did. No, I've never been a real religious person, nor did I believe in anything paranormal. But I swear, as God is my witness, I saw what appeared to be 5 transparent figures, that looked like angels, carrying 5 transparent figures upward, in the smoke that was coming from the fire. Then they just vanished. The smoke was still there, but the figures were gone. I turned my head and looked upwards, when I heard the sound of tires squealing to a stop, on the road above us. Everyone else looked up as well. Help! We're down here. Help! Somebody help! Several of us started screaming. Multiple lights then began shining down on us from above, from what I can only assume were flashlights, and phone lights. Oh my God! There's people down there. Call 911, I heard someone say, as random faces began appearing from above, over the side of the road. Hold on. Help is coming, another voice said. Hurry. We got injured people down here, one of the guys shouted to them. At that point, I was completely exhausted. I unzipped my bag, pulled out a pack of smokes, grabbed a lighter, opened the pack, took one out, put it in my mouth, lit it, and took the biggest drag I possibly could, held it, then blew it out. And damn, did it feel good. Anyway, I offered a smoke to all of them, as well as a snack cake. Some took both, some took one or the other, and some didn't take anything. Soon, the sound of sirens could be heard, as red, white, and blue lights began flashing in the distance. Moments later, we heard a voice yell from above, "We're coming down." In the moonlight, I could see 4 ropes being thrown from above us, down to us, and someone climbing down each one of them. The guy climbing down the rope closest to me arrived first. "What do we got?" he asked. 2 broken arms, a broken leg, and multiple cuts and lacerations, I replied. "We'll take the injured first," he said. He then grabbed his shoulder mic, pressed the button, and said, "We need multiple lifts down here." Soon after, multiple wire baskets began lowering down. To make a long story short, all the survivors, including myself, were strapped into the baskets and pulled up to safety. The severely injured were taken to the nearest hospital for treatment. Actually, everyone was taken to the hospital for treatment, injured or not, just to be sure. They had to make several trips back and forth, as there were only a few ambulances. The ambulances were red and white, with different company names on them. Anyway, the hazmat team made me strip down butt-ass naked, put my clothes, my socks, and my shoes in a hazardous waste bag, and took them away. They gave me a blanket to cover up with though. I put my wallet, my keys, my cell phone, and anything else I had in my pockets into my bag. Anyway, I was one of the last survivors to go. I didn't see which ambulance took Donna. No, after I gave my statement to the cops, I stood there, on the side of the road, holding my bag, completely naked, wrapped in a blanket, and watching the fire department put out the flames. I had a really good view of it from the road. It was so cool to watch. Anyway, 3 ambulances arrived back at the scene, as there were only 3 survivors left. One of them was different. It was green and white. It had the lights, but no company name, which I thought was a little strange. Nah, I thought it was really strange. The first 2 took Dave, and some other guy. I was taken in the strange one. No, I don't know much about the medical profession, but I would think that the EMTs are supposed to actually talk to the patient, take their blood pressure, their temperature, something. These guys did not. One guy got out of the driver's seat, walked around to the back of the ambulance, opened the doors, pointed at me, and motioned for me to get in the back, where the second guy was. I was reluctant to do so. I mean, wouldn't you? They didn't even have a stretcher in there. Now, let me tell you about these guys. They were tall, lanky, and both had a "don't fuck with me" expression on their faces. They were dressed in green uniforms similar to army fatigues, wearing black boots, a green hat, and black sunglasses. At night, they were quite intimidating. Anyway, I looked around to see nobody. Nobody, but me, and these 2 creepy EMTs, if that's what they really were. The cops had left. The fire department had left. The 2 ambulances had left. And all the spectators left as well. What else was I gonna do? I could have ran, but they would have most likely caught me, and who knows what they would have done to me, when they did. So, I climbed in the back, and sat down on the left side, across from the second guy. He just stared at me, the whole ride there. When I got to the hospital, I got out of the ambulance and walked through the doors. Now, remind you, I was still naked, and wrapped in a blanket. You could tell that the hospital was old, like from the 1920s or something. It was very dark, and dreary. Anyway, the second EMT walked in right after me, and handed one of the nurses a clipboard. She looked like Annie Wilkes from that Stephen King movie Misery, only creepier, and crazier. She smiled, and looked at the clipboard. "Ah, Mr. Johnson. You will be in examining room 14, she said, right this way." How does she know my name? I thought. She then walked me to the room. The room had the same dark and dreary look to it, with one old rusty IV stand on the left, and a plastic patio chair in the middle, with a cloth curtain draped across the entrance. What the hell kind of examining room is this? I thought, as I took a seat in the chair. "Very good," she said. "The doctor will be in shortly. Would you like me to take your bag?" "No, I'm good. I'll keep it," I replied. She then turned and left. I sat there for about 45 minutes before he showed up. He walked in looking even creepier than the nurse. He reminded me of Lurch from the Addams Family. I made the mistake of telling him that I hit my head, and had a severe headache. If I hadn't told him that, he might have let me go. But no. The doctor then ordered a CAT scan of my head, which made no sense. Usually, they do an MRI for a head injury. Anyway, I waited almost an hour and a half for the technician to come and get me. I thought about just walking out, but I had no idea where I was. So, I just sat there in the chair, bored out of my mind, and playing on my cell phone. It was a brand new cell phone. I just got it a couple days before I found out about the retreat. It had an excellent battery, just in case you're wondering how I'm still using it without charging it. Anyway, the technician finally came to get me. I then sat down in this old ancient wheelchair. They then pushed me through a set of old wooden double doors, into a dark dreary corridor. After a series of lefts and rights, through more double doors, we finally reached the CAT scan room. The technician wheeled me in, and I saw their CAT scan machine. It looked like this huge metal lifesaver. I love lifesavers. The green ones are my favorite. Wait, you don't really care, do you? Okay, moving on. Anyway, I got out of the wheelchair, and laid on this long cold metal tray, that reminded me of those old metal slides that we slid down on the playground when I was a kid. The technician then turned and took the wheelchair out of the room. Soon after he left, another technician walked in. I swear he could have been the identical twin of Dr. Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb. Anyway, he told me to take off the blanket. I informed him that I was naked underneath it. He just looked at me, with that I don't care look on his face. So, I took off the blanket, and dropped it to the floor. There I was, laying on this cold metal tray, with all that God gave me, completely exposed. He then hit a button on the machine, the tray slid slowly into it, and out the other side. About a minute went by, and the tray slid back through it. After they were finished scanning me, Dr. Doofenshmirtz's twin left, and the first technician came back in. At which time, I sat up, grabbed the blanket off of the floor, stood up, wrapped it around me, sat back down in the wheelchair, and he wheeled me back to the room. I sat back down in the chair once again. Seconds later, Dr. Lurch came walking in, holding a clipboard in one hand, and his other hand behind his back. "Mr. Johnson, it looks like you have a severe concussion. We're gonna have to keep you for a while, for observation," he said. "How did you get my results so quick? There's no fucking way. What the fuck is going on here?" I thought. At that point, I had had enough of that creepy-ass hospital, and those freaky-ass people. No, I want to leave. "Sign me out ADA, which is against doctor's advice. I'm leaving," I shouted. "Come now, Mr. Johnson." "That is not an option," he said, as he removed his hand from his back, producing a hypodermic needle in his hand, filled with a misty white substance. He stepped to his right, my left, and attempted to plunge the needle into my neck. I quickly threw up my left arm to block his, as I lifted my left foot, with as much force as I could muster up, and kicked him directly in his, well, man parts. He dropped the needle and fell to the floor, reeling in pain. I picked up the needle, and screamed, "Fuck you," as I jammed it into his neck, releasing its contents into him. I kept the needle, in case I needed a weapon, grabbed my bag, and ran out of there as fast as I could. I ran back the way I came in, to see the doors I walked in when I got out of the ambulance. Nurse Misery was standing in the doorway. No, I don't hit women, but she was standing between me and my freedom. She had to go. You see, I played 1 year of high school football, so I knew how to take someone out. I screamed, and ran toward her as fast as I could. When I got close enough, I dropped my shoulder and plowed over her. She screamed as she hit the floor. I then ran out of the doors, fearing for my life. I made a left, and kept running, barefoot mind you, having no idea where I was. I finally stopped running after about 20 minutes, and sat on the curb to catch my breath. My feet were throbbing in pain. I guess I was running on adrenaline, and didn't feel the pain until I stopped. I soon realized I was in a neighborhood. I took a smoke out of my bag, lit it, and smoked it, as I sat there, looking around to make sure no one had followed me. Thankfully, no one did. I finished smoking my cigarette, and flicked the butt into the street, as storm clouds brewed in the distance. I then got up and began walking, more like hobbling, through the neighborhood. The houses were all the same color, the same model, the same blue car parked in the driveway. Where the fuck am I thought. Anyway, I hobbled around for about 10 minutes, when I came to a house, not like the others. It was white, with a red car in the driveway. It also had a clothesline in the backyard. I went over to it. It was full of clothes. They actually looked like they would fit me. So, I grabbed a pair of pants, a shirt, and a pair of socks. Something's better than nothing, right? Anyway, I put down my bag, dropped the blanket, and put on the clothes. They actually fit. I grabbed my bag, opened it, pulled out my wallet, opened it, took out 2 $20 bills, and used a clothespin to put them on the clothesline. I didn't want anyone thinking that I'm a thief. I picked up the blanket and put it in my bag as well. Anyway, I then heard what sounded like a diesel engine close by. I walked back to the street to see an 18-wheeler idling down it, its headlights lighting the way. Now that I think about it, this probably wasn't a very smart thing to do, but I was desperate, and needed to get out of there. So, as it was coming down the street, I stepped directly in front of it, waving my arms and screaming, "Stop, stop," as loud as I could. The truck quickly came to a stop. The driver opened the door, stepped out, and screamed, "What the fuck is wrong with you? You could have been killed, you jackass." I quickly ran over to him and told him what happened, and offered him $200 to take me home, or at least to that creepy gas station, so I could get my car. "Get in, and we'll talk about it," he said. He was the first normal-looking person I had seen in a long time, so I did. I walked around the front of the truck, bent down, broke the needle off of the syringe, using the pavement to do so, threw them both down a sewer grate, stood back up, opened the passenger side door, climbed up, and got in. The driver was a very rugged-looking man, and looked a lot like Alex from Ice Road Truckers. "Anyway, 500 and you got a deal. If I'm gonna miss my deadline, it's gonna be worth it," he said. I then looked in my wallet. All I had was about $3.50. I took it out, and put it on the dashboard. "That's all I got," I said. He picked it up and counted it. "What the hell? You look like you had a rough night," he said. "Deal." I smiled. Thank you, I said. I'm Thomas, he exclaimed, extending his hand. Howard, I replied, as I extended mine, and shook his. He then put the truck in gear, and began driving down the street. The moment that he did, the rain came pouring down. At that point, it finally occurred to me, that through all the chaos, I never found out where I was. So, I asked him, friend, it's better if you don't know, he replied. I only come through here when I have to. You're lucky I even stopped. I thought about just running you over. What the fuck, I thought. I'm glad you didn't, I said, smiling nervously. After that, I just accepted his answer, and let it go. We talked a little about what happened, his family, my family, and a whole array of other things, on the 10-hour drive back home, stopping several times for gas, bathroom breaks, and coffee, which I paid for. I put it all on my credit card, since I gave Thomas all my money. Anyway, it was about 11:30 Saturday morning, when we finally reached that creepy gas station. It had stopped raining by that point. Anyway, I got out of the truck, waved bye to Thomas, he honked the horn, and rolled on. I got in my car, and drove back to my apartment, glad to finally be home. I took a nice long hot shower, then took a 3-hour nap. I woke up, put on a pot of coffee, and realized that I left my favorite travel mug on the bus. Damn, I said to myself. I just relaxed the rest of the day. I did the same thing the next day. Monday morning, I got up, got dressed, had coffee, and went to work. I didn't mention what happened Friday night to any of the associates. I called corporate office and told them about the bus accident. They said it had already been reported, and they're planning a class action lawsuit against the bus company, and asked me if I'd like to join. Of course, I said, yes. They also informed me that I had been promoted to store manager, since Roger was killed in the crash. I turned down the promotion. Yes, I want to be a store manager one day, but not like that. Anyway, I called David's store, to see how he was doing. I told him what happened at the hospital. He was shocked. He said he went to a different hospital that was bright, shiny, and clean, with state-of-the-art equipment. They checked him out, and let him go shortly after. He took a taxi home. If he didn't go to the same hospital, then where the hell did I go? I thought. Then I remembered what Thomas said. You know what? I don't wanna know, I told myself. Now, after what I had just been through, and survived, I had a big boost of confidence. So, I called the Deerhead store, got Donna's home number, called her up, and asked her out. She said, it took you long enough. Yes, Howard, I'll go out with you. I couldn't stop smiling. Although her voice sounded a little off, I figured she was just tired. I never found out how she got home. Anyway, I have some vacation time saved up. After Friday night, I need one, I thought. I called corporate back, and told them I'd be taking a week's vacation in 2 months. That way I could save some money. They approved it on the spot. So, I grabbed my laptop. Yes, I take it to work. Anyway, I booked a week's stay, 2 months from then, at the Sunset Valley campgrounds, since I didn't make it there last time. It didn't cost that much. I put that on my credit card as well. Who knows? Maybe I'll take Donna with me. If everything works out okay, I thought. That was 2 months ago. Today, my first day of vacation, I woke up, got dressed, took my pill, made 2 travel mugs of coffee. I have a lot of travel mugs. Anyway, I picked up Donna. Yes, she went with me, and together, taking turns driving, we drove to the Sunset Valley campgrounds. I put the address into Google Maps, and it took us the same way as the bus. We got to the accident site. You could tell an accident happened there because the guardrail was completely demolished. Anyway, we stopped and I placed 5 little white crosses, from the dollar store, into the crevices of the rocks, said a prayer and moved on. We arrived at the campgrounds about 20 minutes ago, and the pictures did not lie. This place is amazing. I'm sitting here on the couch, in the living area of our cabin, drinking coffee, loving life, and recording this story. Donna's upstairs in the shower, I believe. I really like her. Oh crap. Donna dropped her hat going up the stairs. It must have fallen out of her bag. What the hell? The hat is green, with a pair of black sunglasses in it. No fucking way. A green and white ambulance just pulled up outside. What the fuck?